As a child, I couldn't wait to wake up on Saturday mornings to watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse with Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and the crew. And let's not forget about the tearjerker. Hakuna Matata. It means no worries. Lion King, of course. And although that little performance had you worried, no need to worry. So today, I want to ask you a question. When you think of Disney, what do you think of? When you think of Disney, do you think of the radio, the internet, the theme park, the toys, the theater, Disney on Ice, Mickey, Minnie, princesses, princes? What do you think of when you think of Disney? You think of this magical place with Aladdin and Snow White and Alice in Wonderland, right? Hmm. Today I want to ask you another question. Who do you think started a business like that? A rich man, right? Someone in the caliber of Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Donald Trump, or how about the Bush family? Had to be someone with money, right? That's not the case at all. However, it was actually two brothers, a dream, and a $500 loan. That's right, two brothers, Walt and Roy Disney, and the $500 loan. That goes back to prove the point of the great Colin Powell, where he says, a dream doesn't become a reality through magic, but through hard work, sweat, determination. Hmm. And although when we think of Disney, we think of magic, but it took a lot of sweat, determination, and hard work to get to where they are today. And if I might add, brilliant people, brilliant people, and more brilliant people. So, today I want to speak to you about a very special person to the Disney Empire. But first, I want to give you a little background about Disney and who Disney was and who or were. And Disney started off with two brothers, Walt and Roy, and it started off in 1923 where they had a dream. And at that time, they had a small studio where they called it the Disney Brother Cartoon Studios, where they would put on, little shows such as Alice in Wonderland, like that. But in 1928, Disney came out with a toy, the Mickey Mouse pencil pad. And the Mickey Mouse pencil pad, you can imagine how it just looked back in those days, right? Pretty funny to me. But in 1934, that's when Disney began to begin to international license, and they begin to expand their business, throughout different places. So they went to an Italian manufacturer back in 1934 to talk about how they can, start trending and different things like that, just to expand the company. But here in America, they had already took a hold of the company, took a hold of the industry, so much so that they were the leader in the American industry, and they began to proliferate very well in the American industry. And so they begin to build a theme park in Europe, and they called it Euro Disney. And with Euro Disney, it was in Paris. Europe had 8 different subsidies that with different markets that all had to answer back to one market. So what Disney decided to do was build a headquarters in Paris so that everything in Europe can just answer back to that headquarter. So what he had in mind and what Disney had in mind is to have someone of the American base or economic status to come over to Europe and run that particular headquarter for them. And the reason being was because Europe wasn't doing as good as they would like. They were doing good, period, because it was Disney. But as they would like it to do, it wasn't as doing as well. And so they knew that Europe had a very good economic base. They just needed the right person to tap into that. So, which all comes to play with Dennis Hightower. And Dennis Hightower, I'll get to him in just a second. With that, they needed someone perfect to run this headquarters, someone who would fit in just fine and knew the pivotal points of this business. And as I retorted before, Disney began to boom quickly. They moved from theater to television, from radio to internet. And although it wasn't just in 1928, it happened over a span, but it happened vastly, rather quickly. And so Dennis Hightower was a man who come from a family that they were strongly military based people. And when I say that, they were enlisted into the military, and majority of his family had a positive regard for the military. Because if you're wondering, back in those days, 1940s, 50s, and 60s, it wasn't too good for African American people because it was still segregation so much going on. And in the military, they allowed African American to be whatever you wanted to be, as long as you had the qualifications to be that type of person. You can move up as much as you want. So his family had a positive regard for that, and that itself spoke volume to me. Because although his family could have said, the white man is keeping me down, I can't do this and I can't do that, and just been a victim of the government or your situation, they continue to do whatever they were allowed to do in their rightful means. And that spoke volume to me, just as a person, which breeded a champion in Dennis Robin. Dennis Hightower, and that breeded a champion into him. And so he enlisted into the military in 1962, and as time progressed, times began to get better, and better opportunities for African American began to come along. And so then he got a job at the Xerox, and many of you know what the Xerox is, and he began to do good there. However, he saw that the leaders or the people that were in high places were educated people. They had their MBA or some type of degree. And so once he saw that, he was like, I can go to school. So he applied for Harvard and he got his degree. Long story short, he had other jobs, but he got this good job with Russell Reynolds. And him being Dennis Hightower, who he was, he did everything almost right and at the right time. He began to proliferate on that job, and they allowed him to run the office in LA. And with the office in LA, this is where Disney and Dennis began to meet. Disney went to Russell Reynolds. Russell Reynolds was a guy who employed Dennis Hightower. Disney went to Russell Reynolds and said, "Hey, we need someone perfect to run this office here in Europe. We need them to do a job. Please help me out, find the perfect candidate for this job." Of course, Russell Reynolds said, "I got a guy for you, the best guy who's going to find the guy that you need." They appointed Dennis Hightower. Dennis Hightower did whatever he had to do to, he held interviews and everything. Within 3 weeks, Frank Wells and the Disney Corporation knew that Russell Reynolds' guy, Dennis Hightower, he was the man for the job. So they offered him, "Hey, how about you come run the office in Europe? You're the man we're looking for. You're the man with the plan." And of course, Dennis Hightower he contemplated on it, but then he went on and accepted the job. And with that, when he accepted the job, he took the company from licensing to publishing to mega deals. And licensing is when, a company use your name or your logo or whatever it is, but you don't really have a say so. It's just like, yeah, that's my big brother, but you don't really have a say so in whatever they do. Whereas publishing, you do have a say so. You do have, your input. And mega deals, just that, mega deals. He had deals with companies like IBM, companies like Coca-Cola, companies like Kodak, big companies. And a lot of people thought he was crazy at first because it was like, why is he reaching out to them? Why is he, trying to branch it out to them? But the thing that Dennis Hightower said spoke volume to me is when he said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. That spoke a lot of volume to me because 9 times out of 10, sometimes when you take over something big like that, you don't really know what to expect because you're just breaking into the business. But he did an awesome job, man. He did so good that he took the company from $65 million to $3.5 billion within a 7 year span. That's business. He had all type of big local licensing from 68 local licensings with Mattel and Nestle with 57 licensings. He did amazing. He was eventually promoted to VP of Europe of that company. He did amazing with that. And so before I close, I just want you to know that all of this started back less than a century ago, 1923, and seven or 8 years shy of a century, they're doing things that no time, it doesn't even look like they're slowing down. And it all started with a dream and $500. It started with $500 and investing into the right people. Dennis Hightower took that headquarter in Europe and it took it from 65 million to 3.5 billion. That's almost what? Man, I can't even count how much more that is, but it's miraculous over the growth within 7 years that this man had input and implemented into this business of such as Disney. And in closing, I want you to know that from a small studio, it went from theater to songs and radio to internet to just TV, television, and big deals, mega deals like Kodak and Coca-Cola and things like that. And if you notice and if you're cognizant of when you go to Disney World and places like that, you will see how those different companies embrace Disney and embrace the things that they do because it's something that you would like your name on. From the DCP, from then to now, it's amazing what Dennis Hightower one man can do with that. And I just want you to know that in all, this is a breaking point for even us college students because this allows us to continue to grow and just to know that you have the power in yes or no, and you have the breaking point in who you are. From Dennis Hightower went from the military to school, from school to the president of headquarters, from 65 million to 3.5 billion, from licensing to publishing to mega deals. He did it all. So you can do it too. And in closing, I want you to sing this song with me because you can do it. Kuma Matana, it means no worries. And that, my friend, Dennis Hightower, he has no worries.